Hi, how you doing? This is a response to the Elmo is Evil. I saw in one of your videos that you build servers. That's pretty cool. It's neat that you use the water cooling. I tried it one time, I got a leak, and that's the last time I ever tried that. I did, however, put a server together last week. 9 terabytes of storage, 24 gig of RAM, and 8 cores at 3.33 gigahertz. We're number crunching, so we don't do that graphic stuff, so no graphics cards. It's nice to see a technical guy talking about politics and economics. I'm thinking you're probably a developer or something like that, right? Anyways, I found your video interesting because you talk about the bailout of the banks, and I'm really unhappy about that too. You said the bailout wasn't socialist, or you said you couldn't understand why people call it that. It kind of is really, but it's a funny kind of socialism. So socialism, to my mind, is the state, us, in other words, collectively owning capital or property. So the banks had a debt that they couldn't pay, and the government stepped in and socialised the debt. They made it our debt, effectively. That is definitely not capitalism. Capitalism doesn't care if you can't pay your debt. If a company like underperforms and it goes under, becomes insolvent, then it's bankrupt. Game over. Same for individuals. That's how it's supposed to work. That's capitalism. What they've just done, bailing out companies, that is definitely socialist. But like I said, it's a funny kind of socialism because it's asymmetric. So the government isn't going to bail you out when you can't pay your mortgage. It isn't going to bail out small businesses. So what we have here is socialism for the rich, but only when they need it. When the banks are making profits, they want capitalism. The profits belong to them. It's their profit. When they have debts, huge debts that they can't pay, then they want socialism. The debt belongs to the rest of us. What shall we call this bizarre arrangement? You use the term corporatism, and I think that's spot on. That's exactly what we've got here. And it's disturbing. You mentioned Reagan, but he did nothing on this scale. This is the biggest redistribution of wealth ever. So the UK has committed around 1 trillion sterling. There's about 60 million people in the UK. I did the maths. That's about 17,000 per person. Something like 40,000 per family. How long will it take to pay that back? A long time, if we even can. Myself, I would have bailed out the depositors and let the banks go under. It would have been very painful, short term, but why do we need to finance some guy's Porsche, you know? I'm okay with capitalism if it's applied consistently. Unfortunately, the politicians don't seem to have a clue. In the UK Parliament, we've got a guy called Vince Cable. He's okay. You guys have got Ron Paul, Peter Schiff. They seem to be switched on. But most of them haven't got the first idea. So they ask for advice. Where from? The Wall Street gang, Goldman Sachs, and the rest of them. The same people that got us into this mess. And guess what they're going to recommend? You know, they're not going to recommend an end to their bonuses or their jobs. And that's corporatism. These people should have nothing to say. They should all be unemployed. I'm looking at Bloomberg, Bloomberg.com. You have a bill, HR 4173, and apparently it authorises Federal Reserve banks to provide as much as 4 trillion in emergency funding the next time Wall Street crashes. The bill also contains a proviso that in the event of another government request for emergency aid to prop up the financial system, debate in Congress will be limited to just 10 hours. So there goes moral hazard out the window. They've got it all covered for next time. I wonder why we even bother paying tax. You know, just find a banker and hand over your money directly. It's all very sad. When the guy stocking shelves in the supermarket is paying for some guy's $1 million house, something is very wrong.